Do you want to know how to hand tame your gerbils and get them comfortable sitting in your hand like Pumba here? Then stick around because I'm going to show you everything you need to know to hand tame your gerbils. Hello there, my name is Heather, I have a degree in animal science and I run Pet Connection International, the online service and educational channel that teaches you the science of understanding your animals. So if you want to learn more about your pets and get answers to a range of your pet questions, then subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Now some people suggest that you need to give gerbils very minimal bedding in order to tame them. I personally don't agree with this because there are more positive methods of taming that work just as effectively, but without the need to cause them additional stress by taking away their burrows. So today I'm going to show you step by step how you can hand tame your gerbils using only positive reinforcement methods. Now the first point I want to make is a distinction between what I like to call passive and active taming. Passive taming is what I would define as building trust by showing them you're not a threat and that you bring positive things like their food. Then there's active taming, which is encouraging them to interact with you by using lures and rewarding positive interaction. Now that we've covered that, we can look at each of the steps involved in the different stages of taming. The first and one of the most important things in taming any animal is that direct eye contact in the animal kingdom is generally perceived as a threat. What this means in practice is that in order to show animals that you mean them no harm, you need to make a conscious effort to not stare at them. One of the ways you can achieve this is through something called the slow blink, which is closing your eyes slowly and deliberately as a way of showing the animals that you're not a threat. Another way of achieving this that's particularly effective with gerbils is by winking. And if your gerbil trusts you and feels safe around you, they might even wink back. The point is to make sure that you're not staring at them directly with both eyes for too long. The way I get around this is by occasionally closing my eyes or winking or just turning my head away to show them that I'm not staring at them, so I'm not trying to attack them. The second step in passive taming is by hand feeding. One of the very best ways you can gain your gerbil's trust is by showing them that you are where their food comes from directly. If you spend a lot of time around them and regularly offer them some of their daily food allowance from your hand, this gradually builds the association that you equal food. This is a good association to have because food is a positive thing, which means if you equal food and food equals positive, then you equal positive. So if you weigh out the daily food allowance in the morning and regularly offer them some of their food allowance from your hand when you see them, at the end of the day, you can then scatter whatever's left through their enclosure because scatter feeding as well provides a really valuable source of enrichment for them. Gerbils are really good listeners. One of the main ways they sense predators approaching in the wild is by using their sense of hearing. With this in mind, it's a good idea to talk to your gerbils so they get used to the sounds of your voice and the sounds you make, and over time, you may even be able to calm them down when they're anxious just by talking to them. You just need to make sure you don't raise your voice too loud or shout because gerbils are prey animals, which means they can get frightened really easily. As I said earlier, active taming involves using rewards to encourage your gerbil to interact with you. The best reward I've found for gerbils is pumpkin seeds. You should break these up into small pieces for two reasons. One is so that they don't end up eating too much, and two is because if they're in smaller pieces, there's more opportunities to reward them for things you like them doing. For these rewards as well, you should make sure that you're only using them while you're asking them to do something. This is because it creates a kind of exclusivity effect where the rewards are really valuable because they don't get them very often. Now, if you're doing a lot of active taming because of the calories involved in giving them treats as rewards, you need to make sure you reduce their daily food slightly so that they don't end up consuming too much. Now, the process of active taming is about rewarding your gerbil for positive interactions, but it's broken down into smaller steps to make it easier for them to learn. For example, in the process of hand taming, if you want them to come out onto your hand, you first reward them by getting close to your hand and then putting 1 foot on and then 2 feet and then slowly all the way out. Over time, they get more comfortable being out and you don't need to give them as many rewards in order to get them to come out. When you're doing this, it's important to pay attention to your gerbil's body language. If you see that your gerbil is starting to pull away as you're trying to encourage them out, then don't push them too much further because this is their way of saying that it's too much for them right now. You need to only push them a little bit at a time and make sure you go at a pace that they're comfortable with. I also think that it's really important to allow them the option to go home if they want to. When it comes to hand taming, you can do this by creating bridges with your arms so that they can go back to their home if they feel uncomfortable. Allowing them to do this gives them control over their environment, which is an extremely important element of animal welfare. As they get more comfortable being out and around you and running around on your arms, you don't need to necessarily necessarily hold your arms in bridges the entire time, but instead, if you watch them closely, whenever you see them looking towards their home, you offer them the option to go home so that they know all they need to do is look in that direction and they will have the option to go home. If you want to build a bond and a sense of trust with you and your gerbil, then as much as possible, you should avoid forcing them to interact with you. If you give them the option to say no, it helps to show them that they can trust you. Now, this isn't possible all of the time. There may be occasions when you need to take them out, such as when you need to take them to the vets. So for these times, there are very clear do's and don'ts when it comes to picking them up. Don't pick them up from above because this simulates a bird of prey coming in to grab them and take them away. This will make you seem like a predator to your gerbils. You also need to make sure you never ever hold them by the tail. Like many rodents, if gerbils are held by the tail, they can do something which is called degloving, which is where they basically lose most of their tail, and it's pretty gruesome and very painful and not pleasant at all. The ideal way to pick them up is always by luring them onto your hand, but if that's not possible, then always scoop, don't grab. Another important point to note is that every animal is different. Some are shyer than others and they take longer to tame. Between my two, we have Tame, who is slowly getting more comfortable learning to just stay in my hand. And then we have Pumba, who will come out just for the reward of running around in my sleeves. But I've been working with both of them for the same amount of time. So if your gerbil takes a while to get comfortable with you, don't be disheartened and give up. Just be patient, it might take some more time. You can get a printable summary of everything I talked about in this video in a free guide linked down below. Hit like if you enjoyed it and comment pumpkin down below if you're going to try any of these steps with your own gerbils. In next week's video, I'm going to be showing you how to compare different gerbil foods so that you can make an informed choice about which food you give to your gerbil. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it.